Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Halloween special
spooky.
Of Sunday Funday with Paul and Judy.
What's really scary? Oh, wait, we got to do our cheers.
Okay. Happy weekend, happy Sunday, and thanks for joining us.
Are you all in costume as we requested?
I did say that costumes were encouraged.
I have a confession to make. I'm not going to toast yet because we're giving about 3 minutes till my mustache falls off.
He was looking for spirit gum just before the broadcast started. So I'm getting out my glue gun, and then he's getting out the glue stick.
Now, it's also appropriate that we have Pedro here.
Oh, Pedro.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Because we have a couple things to talk about today, obviously, but one of the things we were going to start talking about is a little mini class on the birthstone for the month of November.
Yes, we like to do the birthstone of the month the last weekend of the previous month if we get a chance, just so everybody who's celebrating that following month can know a little bit more about his or her birthstone.
Mm-hmm. So should we jump right in, or do you want to do any?
It's going down.
Ah, no. Ah.
You're naked.
All right.
We definitely needed that spirit gum.
Now I can do a toast. A proper toast.
And cheers to you. Be sure as you're writing in to let us know where you're watching from. I'm sure you're probably not in costume. I didn't get a whole lot of direct messages. I didn't get a whole lot of direct messages with people in costume, so I don't have anything to show you. That's probably the place that it would stay.
All right. So we have.
You ready for Citrine?
Yes, we have much to talk about. So if you are born in the month of November, your traditional birthstone is actually Imperial Topaz.
Yes.
But Imperial Topaz is hard to find. It's very expensive. Mm-hmm. And a great alternative, a much more plentiful gemstone, and really I think is beautiful in its own right, is called citrine.
Citrine. So citrine is under the zodiac sign for those of you who are born between June 21st and July 22nd. So it's actually one of the zodiac stones for Cancer. And it happens to be the anniversary for the 13th year. Mm-hmm. And speaking of Imperial Topaz, that's the anniversary for the 23rd year that you would have been married or celebrating.
Yeah, and you're fine with either of those gemstones
options
as the birthstone. And that's why same thing happened with December, when originally it was basically blue zircon, another very fairly expensive stone. So blue topaz became the alternative, and then turquoise was always the secondary birthstone for December. And then tanzanite's like pick me. Right. So,
I want to be somewhere. Let me land.
So December has 4 birthstones. Now, I know when I first started off, I looked a little bit like, I know who you're thinking. You're thinking Pirates of the Caribbean. See how long it stays now.
With the fan blowing.
It's going to be going.
I don't know. Tell us where it is. What it is in your neck of the woods. Is it hot? Is it cold? Because it's got to be 89 degrees here in Florida. And these things are really hot. Although I kind of would love to have been born with all this hair. I think it would have been fun to maintain and flip around.
Funny thing is, little trivia for you, because when we were testing the camera and I came out, again, we're hardwired today, so tell us.
Oh, yes. Tell us if you can hear us. Thank you, Cindy.
So anyway.
What costume are you in? She's not telling me now.
But the minute I look at the screen, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the Rolling Stones. I'm Keith Richards. And that's a little trivia for you, because that's who Johnny Depp was modeling.
Yes.
When he did that.
Yes,
character.
I can only imagine the studying that he did for all of the mannerisms and everything else. But let's get back to citrine.
Yes.
Because it is a really beautiful stone, and we have some samples. Looking back at some of the Sunday Fundays that we do, typically this can show pretty well. But that is some merchandise of citrine, cut citrine, faceted citrine in some different shapes and sizes.
And I would call that citrine borderline, sort of between Madeira and traditional golden citrine.
Yeah, it really is. And golden citrine, light citrine, deep citrine, it's very hard to come by. It's not mined in many places in the world. And most of the time when you find citrine, it is heat treated amethyst.
Right. Now let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because you can't talk about citrine or amethyst without talking about Brazil.
Right, because that's one of the 4 main places that citrine is mined. Russia is another one, Madagascar is another one, and Spain is another one.
Now we're going to take you to Brazil from our trip there, and we're going to show you the exterior of an amethyst mine, actually, which also is
I don't know if the reflection's going to
That's
allow us
true.
to do
It's
it.
looking okay.
But
That's good.
there's Paul.
You know what? Let me turn the lights off for a second.
Okay, that's
For
actually a
quick
very good
second.
idea.
Look at that. Okay.
Okay, now let me see if I can.
You can swipe. There's who's taking that video.
So this is when we were in Brazil and we were right outside of the amethyst / citrine mine. So there's the entrance to the mine. And of course, going into the mine, it was ominous. And that yellow tube that you see to my right is actually oxygen being piped into the mine.
And so for those of you who've never been in a mine, there are a lot of different types of mining, but in this particular case, they call this area, it's Ametista do Sul. And they call, oh yeah, there, we're back. And we had to walk, I would say, around a quarter to a half mile.
Into the mine.
Into the mine. So you were underneath the ground. In fact, they called the roads above it the Swiss cheese highway because there's all these different mines there. And when we were down there, and right before they were going to do the blessing.
That's actually a great shot too. Yeah. All right, now you get to be here.
Lights off.
Lights, camera off, action. Oh, that's a different one. Oh, I jumped. Sorry. Yeah, I'll let you find it because I jumped forward accidentally.
We'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
So be very careful with these devices. So, actually, that's probably. I know you're seeing. Oh. There we go. You're kind of seeing a reflection of my screen showing you his screen. Now, that again is
what you're seeing there.
These guys.
Yeah, that's an exposed face of the geode that's in the wall, and it's amethyst, but it's not awesome color amethyst. So we'll tell you what happens next. You can talk about you can talk about what you were going through.
Oh, as far as
when they uncover the geode, and this is sort of, all right, this is sort of done after the fact from the factory, but they drill a hole when they're in the mine. They drill it into the geode. They put a light at the end of a wire, and they're checking for color. If you have spectacular purple color, they will cut that geode out no matter how large it is, no matter how much it weighs, to preserve that amethyst, because amethyst, after all, is what they're after. All right, now I'm going to find you. So we found one that's not a good one.
They did. Yeah. You want to turn mine up too?
Oh. Okay. And they cut around it, and those little holes in the bottom, they're going to fill that with gunpowder.
Yes, and I was on the other side of the camera, and they had set up the dynamite because that's the only way that they can really get into that rock.
So now we've set it up.
And this is where they're actually setting up the dynamite.
And now we had to walk
in the mine
about 200 to 300 feet back towards the entrance and wait for them to do the explosion. And I can only tell you, and maybe you should relive this as much as I do, explain to them what that was like and what that felt like.
Yeah, the ground shook. Not only was it a loud boom, but the ground literally shook. So of course, my camera jumped, and everybody, and we were behind the guy who was working with the dynamite and on another side of the cave, but we had the camera set up over there, and we kind of walked away, and the camera jumped, and we all jumped, and then kind of went back to see.
The way I
how
describe it, you can actually feel
it.
A compression in the concussion in your chest.
Yes, exactly.
Now, the reason they will blow up anything that doesn't look like good amethyst, because good amethyst is the most valuable member of the quartz family. So then they take it back to the plant, and they will put it in an oven.
One more light. There you go.
Keep hitting it. Doesn't go. So there it is, and that is a big furnace, and I think it's around 800 and some degrees Celsius. I forget what the
you can see this is Paul right here. Looking inside the furnace along with the guys, because they put it, I don't remember what and everything was in Celsius there too.
Right. So. And so the thing I want you to keep in mind, most gems are treated in some way, shape, or form to help improve the color or the performance of the gemstone.
And that's not a bad thing. I mean, that's normal. It's a good thing. Anytime you hear that word, don't be afraid if a gemstone's been treated. It's just going to help with the durability and also the maintenance of the color over the life of the stone and the life of your jewelry.
Now, just because you're heating that amethyst that's not up to great color doesn't mean you'll get great looking citrine. So in other words, just like sapphires are treated, rubies are treated with heat. You can't be guaranteed. The potential for color has to exist already in the stone. If it doesn't exist in the stone, you're not going to get good color. So, and a very small percentage of that color will come out to be Madeira, citrine.
Mm-hmm.
And we happen to have another picture. And this is a gentleman who's doing what they call cobbing. He's taking the rough, that hammer in his hands. I don't know how he does it.
I'm trying to get a better view. Hopefully you're able to see
he's
that.
He's taking that hammer and he's literally hitting rough in his hand too.
You know what? When you bend over like that,
yeah.
you cover the light that's cut there. That's good. Yeah. Can you see how you're covering the light? It's easier to see him and actually what he's doing. And that little hammer that has the pointed end on both sides is what he's using when Paul talks about cobbing to get all the earth that is on the stone off the stone. It's a very primitive process, but it has to be done by a human being. It cannot be done by machine.
I know, we can just swipe one more while you still have it. I'll be the light blocker again.
Kathy, you look hot. I think I know the way that you mean it, but if you can see the perspiration, that's the way I'm taking it. And you're right. But thank you.
Why is the rum gone?
Let us know where you're writing from. We love seeing where you're watching. And tell us what the temperature is where you live. Maybe that'll cool me down just virtually. Okay,
this is the final slide.
Okay. All right.
I'm blocking the light. Me blocking light.
And you know, when we talked about primitive, that's just newspaper. That's Brazilian newspaper that they're using to sort the stones. So that's post-cobbing of citrine in the rough. But look at that beautiful, beautiful color. And you'll see a lot of Madeira quality stone in that pile.
The story took so long, my beard has grown back, but a little bit off kilter.
I hope there's some kind of party we can go to after this. This was a lot of work, but you're worth it. I said, I want to know what costume you're wearing. And Cindy said, pajamas. She's probably out in California.
It's a PJ party.
It is a PJ party.
And this is Pedro. Now, the reason I bring up Pedro.
We saw a lot of Pedros.
We saw a lot of parrots when we were in Brazil. We were driving to the mines and going, and would see these people come up and say, hey, Pedro, hey, Pedro. And we thought, oh, it's nice. They named the bird. No, like we say, Polly want a cracker.
Yes.
They're like Pedro.
Pedro want a cracker.
So they call it Pedro down there.
What's cracker in Brazilian, Portuguese?
Craquere. I don't know. I don't know the word cracker in Portuguese. I know cerveja.
Yes, you do.
Cerveja.
Yes. We consumed a lot of that. Wine
Even you.
Yeah, the wine wasn't very good. No. And it was hot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, that cold beer is looking really good right about now.
Okay, so that's
50 degrees in Michigan. That sounds good. 62 degrees in Pittsburgh. That sounds good. Send it my way.
We'll turn the air conditioning on in the house as soon as we're done. Anyway, so that's citrine, and it's a 7 on the Mohs scale of hardness. It's a very durable stone. It's a member of the quartz family.
It's a wonderful stone, actually, just to wear or buy set in sterling silver, because the contrast between that beautiful golden color, which, by the way, gets its name from the word citrus. So citrus, citrine, is a natural tie-in because of the color. And it looks great in sterling silver because you have that contrast between the coolness and the warmth of the stone and the metal. I've always thought it was just so pretty. And I always describe citrine, too, as just this burst of sunshine. So it's always a happy stone.
It's definitely a favorite. I know it's one of the ones you love.
I do. I really love it.
Would like
did you notice all my booty?
Yeah. Oh.
I'm a good booty collector. You're so bad. I'm going to rip that right off you.
The earring off?
Yeah, no, you're
notice I have an earring?
Goatee.
Is it bad?
Your goatee? No, it's actually staying put.
Okay. It's a little off to the...
That's okay. Don't touch it. Don't move. Don't talk. Don't drink.
I wanted you to also talk a little bit about your experience with ametrine, because ametrine...
There it goes.
They just don't make beards like they used to. Ametrine is basically a hybrid of amethyst and citrine occurring in the same stone.
Yes, and the reason Paul's bringing that up is because years ago, as a host on QBC, I was sent to Bolivia, and nobody even had ever heard of Bolivia when we were there. But so we actually did a documentary called Where's Bolivia? But the reason that we went is to see the mine, go into the mine and actually not source the stone, because our vendor had already sourced the stone, but we wanted to be able to tell the story to the armchair traveler what this was all about and what it took to mine the stone and bring it to you in this beautiful jewelry. And that's where, as Paul was mentioning, amethyst and citrine is found together. They try very hard not to cob them apart, keep as much as they can together, because they're in varying degrees. Some of the material you'll find has more amethyst visible than the citrine. Some is just the opposite. Some's 50-50. But it's natural. And to think about it being made in nature that way and being able to be mined in nature that way is fascinating. The mine itself, the reason I learned all about the difficulty of mining, the fact that miners will typically stay at a mine for 3 to 6 months at a time, and then they get a chance to go back to their families for 3 to 4 weeks. And then they come back to the mine and they live there with the other miners. They live in tents. They live on cots. They have a mess hall, very much like the military does, a mess tent. And they were joking around one time. Well, not joking around, but somebody had come across and nabbed a tarantula. So here in the mess hall, sitting next to me, was this massive spider. And I thought, okay. And then we had to sleep at the mine. We flew in on a little 5-seater plane, grass landing. Then we were picked up in a Jeep. And we actually were kind of doing this through the woods because we had limbs and trees smacking us in the face. It was truly the most primitive experience I've ever had. Thus the name Indiana Judy. But it really was amazing. And we had to get all kinds of shots, of course, before we went, malaria pills and various degrees of shots separated out by weeks so that your body got used to it. I don't think anybody got sick on that trip in our crew, fortunately. But I did sleep in a cot under one of those mesh tents with my shoes on, my socks on, my clothes on, just sort of thinking, please don't crawl up in here. Please don't crawl up in here. And that's why I slept with my shoes on, because I thought if they would be beside
they would go inside.
Yeah, that they would crawl inside it. Mm-hmm. But it was really, really
because most
something.
of those tarantulas have a foot fetish.
They do? No. Just like you?
I'm not a fetishist.
Your middle name, Tarantula.
What was I going to say? Oh, but anyway, the interesting part of ametrine is that it's natural. You really can't treat that, because the truth of the matter is, as we just taught you earlier, you can heat up amethyst and get citrine. You can irradiate citrine and get amethyst, but there's no way to do that to an ametrine because you're going to screw up one or the other.
Right. Which is why that stone is just so unusual. Yeah. I don't know if it's mined anywhere other than Bolivia.
You could probably find it in pockets of Uruguay as well as Brazil. Are you crying?
If I go to a party, definitely taking this with me. Hopefully it'll be air conditioned.
Well, we're going to be something else on actual Halloween.
Yeah, we have these. We have a couple of different costumes. If you saw the promotion that we were going to be coming up at noon, you saw us in our Matrix costumes. Mm-hmm. And half of us, no, we don't have any of that left, do we? I found the sunglasses, and that was about it. Everything else, because we live in such a hot climate, even though, we keep the air moderate for a living, whenever we would travel, which is probably 80% of the time, I would turn the air up, and all that vinyl plasticky stuff melted in those costumes just sort of peeled right off.
Notice the jewelry.
I know.
Right? We got our little skulls.
Yeah. Had to have that.
Like that.
I'm proud of you for finding it. I usually have to pull together mine, and so we laid all the costumes out on the bed yesterday morning, because we are going to a costume party on Thursday, the actual Halloween day. So we're trying to decide what to be. And I said, are you inspired? He said, I don't have any costumes left. All the costumes that are hanging in here are yours. So I had to drag them out.
I said, I'll dress around you.
They're in different closets. Oh my gosh. I said, so yesterday I was trying on a million different wigs. Thank you very much to Tony Bratton. Mm-hmm. I have all kinds of wigs in all kinds of colors. This one doesn't happen to be.
I don't think this one is either.
I don't think that one actually came in one of those Halloween costume shop bags. But anyway, I had on fishnet stockings. I had on pleather boots. I had on a flapper costume at one point, a burlesque costume at another point. Mm-hmm. I think the only costume I don't have is a nurse's costume, but that can be in my future. This is a fun one, though. It's just there are a lot of parts to it. So I'm glad you can't see what's on the bottom.
I could do a play-by-play.
Yeah, you could. If I stuck on a pair of boots, it might be kind of Well, it might take a turn, a different
It
kind
would
of
be
costume.
it would be if Daisy Duke, what's her name? She must be Daisy. That's why I call Daisy Dukes.
Oh,
Dukes of Hazzard.
yeah.
If Dukes of Hazzard met the Pirates of the Caribbean,
That's what I would be. Yeah, exactly.
So if you have any other questions about citrine, or for that matter, Imperial Topaz,
Yes, as we said,
Certainly.
13th anniversary gemstone is citrine. 23rd anniversary gemstone is Imperial Topaz. As far as care and cleaning for any citrine that you own, or Imperial Topaz for that matter, we always recommend you don't need any special jewelry cleaner. If you have a mild dishwashing soap, dishwashing liquid, just pour that into your basin, rinse it around real well, take a very soft brush. If you have an old beat up toothbrush, that's a perfect thing to kind of keep in your drawer and designate that for your jewelry cleaning, just to get out any of the lotions or any of the accumulated oils from your skin, just to shine it back up again, and then rinse it real well, dry it off, and it's clean. So it's a very easy process.
Now your Imperial Topaz is an 8 on the Mohs scale of hardness rather than a 7 with the citrine. However, citrine is a tougher stone than
Imperial Topaz.
Topaz actually can fracture more easily than quartz, but can't scratch as easily as
I was
quartz.
surprised reading that citrine was at one point called Brazilian topaz because it's that color, of course, really good quality and or heat treated, but
well, yeah, that's true. And the problem with those misnomers is it confuses people.
I know.
Because I remember when I first got into the shopping channel business, they were talking about the smoky topaz. Well, it wasn't topaz, it was smoky quartz.
Yes. So is there such a thing as smoky topaz?
There may be. If there's an Imperial Topaz, basically the smoky quartz is formed by natural irradiation in the earth. And so that if the trace elements exist, the same thing in topaz certainly could occur. I imagine it would be very rare, however.
Yeah. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you for the comment on my hair, Deborah. I know. I love this wig.
Nobody's commented on my earring. Of course, you can't see it.
Yeah, it's kind of both words.
This is how committed I am to this costume. I pierced my ears today. No?
No, they're earrings that just go like that. Not real special, but
they do the job.
Yeah, they do the job. They have good impact.
Couple of updates, and I know that you are working diligently on some
videos.
Get Fit with Judy videos, which is going to be very exciting on YouTube.
I'm accumulating them, and then I'll kind of roll them out so you can see multiples.
Now, my YouTube channel is currently dormant. However, I thought it would be fun if over the next, maybe let's shoot for middle of November, to be up and running on a YouTube channel that will have a lot of our mining footage that we don't have the chance to show you always on a show that we're trying to offer jewelry. So like gem education, mining education, things like that.
You can share the one that I have on the Judy Crowell style that is of the pristine mine.
Yes.
And that's very, I put some fun little stock music behind it and have us going, driving to the mine, and similar to what we were showing you earlier in our Sunday Funday, as far as the mine and the cave and the oxygen. Pristine mine was nothing like that at all. It was more like a quarry where we just drove up, nothing in sight, nothing for miles except just trees, forests, and little kind of white spots here and there. And then suddenly, boom. There are these mountains of this white material that is beautiful when it's polished and put into jewelry. And that's called pristine. And I still think the story that we were told by Mr. X about how the man who found this material described it as being off Preston Road. And my little psychology mind said, Preston Road, pristine. It's never been used before, hadn't been mined, hadn't been set in jewelry, cobbed, cut, refined, shaped, set. Sounds a lot like Preston to me. So I have a funny feeling, just like telephone tag, where it changes as it gets around. I think pristine came from Preston, because that's how he described it in whatever accent he had. But that's just me. I don't know.
Let's think about mining.
It does look really pristine, though. So it's a good name for it because
perfect.
it's so pure.
Yeah, it's actually a white magnesite.
Yeah.
And it's not a hard stone, but it's amazing what it great polish it takes.
Yes, yes.
'Cause the harder the stone, usually the better the polish.
Another one you and I like to use in our jewelry.
Oh, a ton.
Yes.
Love it.
So we have some big meetings this week, which is going to be fun.
Mhm.
And we're going to be refining more things that we'll be doing and bringing to you on a regular basis here on Facebook, which is a joy for us. We love new projects almost as much as we love traveling. And we'll be sure to bring you all the information when we're able to get that up and running. Wouldn't that be fun if we could do that as early as week after this?
I would love that.
Week after next.
I will tell you this.
Because I think all of the technology is in place.
Mhm.
All of the testing has been done. We've got the right people on board. So now it's just rolling it out for you.
It's a lot easier to drink without this facial hair thing going on.
I give you an A for effort, though. We just didn't have the spirit gum to hold it on. That's attractive.
So we will go through. Don't forget to share the broadcast on Facebook.
Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy to do.
Yep.
There's a little share button underneath the broadcast. You share it, it goes right over to your page.
And then if you have any questions, we will try and get to them as soon as we possibly can.
Yes.
Hopefully
for sure.
we were smooth sailing. We now have a 200-foot Ethernet cord. So we can even go out to the boat and do our broadcast from there without any
Yeah, I hope
problems.
it's come through loud and clear. We decided to ditch the old version app that we were using, at least for the
now.
time being.
Yeah.
So I haven't been able to put all your comments up on the screen like I like to do. We're still searching around for another one, but we don't want to sacrifice the quality of the video or the audio for you because that's frustrating and nobody wants to watch that. So that's why we just decided to come right on.
We didn't even watch it.
Oh, I know. One of them I deleted.
Yeah,
remember?
right away.
From last year. Yeah. I need to get good at like just treating this like,
Oh,
my
just over
hair,
there, yeah.
yeah. It's just fun.
I know that.
I
Yeah.
never got a chance to do this.
As an aside, we were on a cruise and we had our pirate costumes. I think did they have a pirate theme thing, or was it around Halloween? Why did we?
Why was there must have been just
a costume?
it was a costume. Yeah, but they
night.
let you know.
In
Just like
right.
if you've gone on a cruise and they've said, okay, there's going to be a white party. Everybody wear white. It's going to be a pirate costume party. Everybody, bring your costume. Well, not a lot of people had the degree
Yes.
of costume that we have, but we have another reason that we have all this getup, because here in Tampa Bay, which is the area where we live, they have something called Gasparilla every year. And it happens in January. Thank goodness, because the costumes it's
a
colder than
pirate invasion.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And did that actually happen? Is that what it's based around?
Well, that's the theory. There would have been pirates around these parts
100
for
years
sure,
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are thousands and thousands of boats in Tampa Bay, and they all storm the capital.
The city.
Yeah, but it's one big celebration. So it's almost like if you go as a pirate for Halloween, just hang on to all the parts because you can wear it again in January. So that's why we've used these so many times. I have to keep perfecting things. Even just before the broadcast, one of these beads that I made fell out. So Halloween costumes get abused.
They get abused.
So
And we
they
used to have a lot of parties ourselves, but then with all the travel, we donated a lot of our stuff.
Yeah. I think the house across the channel
Right.
is going to be using a lot of it because she's having a
And we
Halloween
would
party this
get
year.
makeup artists, because I could get the eyes
Yeah,
and all that other
you
stuff.
had some real good makeup done.
I think my favorite was when I was Dr. Evil.
Oh,
That was a QVC,
yeah.
and I had the whole bald thing.
Nobody
everything.
knew who you were.
No, Mary Beth Rose was looking at am I allowed in the host room? Like, who are you?
Who are you?
I said, Mary Beth, it's me. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just a fun holiday. Well, I hope you have a good week, whether you're celebrating Halloween or giving out candy or traveling or going to a party.
We're just trying to scare kids.
I hope you have a good time. That was your goal.
It was.
But they had a lot to talk about
Mhm.
later that week with their friends. People would come by just to take pictures of our house because he went to town. In fact, all of that wallpaper of the
did they use it?
graveyard and also the scary trees and the blue and the gray background. Yeah, we worked it out yesterday as to where she's going to
Okay,
hang
good.
it. So that's the party that we're going to on
So we will
Thursday.
see you next week. We don't have a problem, right?
Right, we should be in
Okay.
town, so it should be noon next weekend.
If you have more questions, if you have any other comments,
Yeah, or even subjects
Or
that you'd
things that
like
you want
us
to see
to
on
discuss
YouTube,
on
yeah.
our next Sunday Funday.
Yeah.
We'll definitely try to cover them and answer those. And Even maybe do another contest. We haven't done that in a while. So maybe we can start one of those next week.
I like it.
You like it?
I like that idea.
You have a little glue on your chin.
I like it too.
We'll see if that lasts for the goodbye. Where's
Arg.
Pedro?
Arg.
Where's Pedro?
Oh, wait a minute. Pedro?
So silly.
Say goodbye, Pedro. Bye, Pedro.
Have a great week, everybody. We love you guys. Bye.
It felt like it.
It felt-